The American presidential campaign has sometimes been compared to a job interview. Or perhaps more accurately, it's a performance review for the incumbent, but a job interview for the dozen or so who are running for the GOP nomination. If that's so, what is the job that we're interviewing for? Knowing whether these candidates have the qualities to fill the post requires an understanding of what the job requires. So what understanding, then, do voters bring to the task, and how much does political ideology shape their view of the job or their affection for a particular candidate? CBS News sought to answer those questions, and our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, joins me now to help us understand some of these findings. Anthony, it's good to be with you again. So do voters think about the presidency in the abstract, regardless of who's in it, who has been in it? Do they think this is a job and it has these qualities?
Not so much, really. And you know what? I think it's a little bit akin to any kind of marketing that you see for a product in this way, which is, yes, you have basic needs and wants, but ultimately you've got to go to that store aisle and you're going to pick from what's on the shelves. And candidates, it seems in the data, end up being a little bit like that. So here's an example. We can ask people what kinds of leadership style they want. And a president, you get big numbers. They want somebody who's caring, who's calm and energetic. Maybe these seem, to be different, but maybe the one at different times. But let me show you an example of how that plays out sort of in reality.
With specific people.
With specific people, right? Take a look at among Republican primary voters. They're starting to get into the thick of their campaign. The Trump voter and the non-Trump voter wants someone who's tough. A lot of people want that. But the Trump voter is more likely to want a candidate who's demanding of loyalty. And we talk a lot about that connection and loyalty that Trump has with his supporters. And a little more likely to want somebody who's entertaining and even combative, right? Because he's under fire with the indictments and everything, and they want him to push back against that. So, yeah, they want these things in a president, but they particularly want it because he has it.
Right, right. So in the abstract, they may cite a certain set of qualities, but then when it comes down to specific candidates, they tend to pick the qualities that candidate then tends to have.
Yeah, and take a look at Biden's approval, just so we talk about both here. Joe Biden's approval among people who want a president with a style that's predictable is higher than folks who want one who's not predictable, right? 50 to 33. And let's use tough again. He doesn't do as well among people who want a tough president as among people who don't. Those were selling points for him in 2020, but now his voters and his approvers say they want those things and things that they think he offers.
So people reverse engineer their views about the job from the qualities they ascribe to the person they like the most.
It would seem that way, yeah.
Let me ask you the question about the economy and the question of whether people think a president has control over the economy or a lot of influence in the economy. How is that affected by how people think the economy is going? In other words, their views about any president's ability to affect the economy. How is that influence about what they think about the economy right now and who's doing well?
Which is important because in a campaign, of course, these guys go out, as you know better than anybody, and they're out there saying, I can fix things and I can help things, right? But then when it comes to actually performing, you say, well, there's a lot of factors here. Maybe we control, maybe we don't. Look, people think in a nutshell that there's some control, but not necessarily a lot of control. And here's a list of those things. Nation safety, foreign policy. Well, look, they've read the Constitution, right? They know a president has more of this. But the economy, only half think a president has a lot of control. They think he's got some. Now, together, that's an affect, right? So take a look at then what they think of the current economy, right? If they think the economy is good, right now, 45% say a president has a lot of control. If they think it's bad, 55% think the current president has a lot of control. And oh, by the way, there's a lot of Republicans in here who don't like the way Joe Biden is handling the economy, who then turn around and say, well, yeah, the president's got a lot of control because that's what they don't like about Joe Biden.
Right, which means if things are going well for you, people are less likely to think, at least in this poll, that less likely to think that a president has a lot of control, so you don't get the credit.
You don't get the credit.
Whereas if things are going poorly, you get all the blame. It's all your fault.
Yep, you're the one. Like it's on your watch.
Right.
Right. It's on your watch. So that is tough. Look, if you're thinking of running for president, this should be a kind of caution for you. You might get more blame than credit.
Right. Not on your life. But it was that phenomenon that President Biden said would hit him if there was a debt ceiling breach. He basically said, I'm president. Whoever's to blame, I'm the one that gets it.
Yeah.
Anthony Salvanto, thanks a million for being here.
Thanks, John.